Welcome back to the Mookie Chilson channel, and you are looking live at the Polo Grounds Stadium in New York, Manhattan. And this is the story of what may be one of the most incredible and stunning pickups at a baseball card show I've ever had. And I'm joined by the son of Mookie, who's sitting behind me. And say hello.
Hello.
Very deep voice, but he's going to hopefully enjoy this story. Hopefully you will too. We're looking at the Polo Grounds because that is where my grandfather worked, at the New York City subway station next to the Polo Grounds. And because my grandfather worked there, my father used to get free subway rides to the Polo Grounds from time to time and would go watch New York Giants games. And so when I got back into baseball card collecting, it was obvious and easy for me to pick up cards like that. 1955 Bowman, Willie Mays. These are the players and the cards that my father was collecting back in the 50s, and so it's just a no-brainer. And so every time I go to a card show anywhere, that is not the pickup, by the way, I want to see what kind of Giants stuff, what kind of 50s Giants stuff is around. And today is no different. Today in Garfield, there was a dealer who had a bunch of programs and scorecards from the 1950s New York baseball teams, including the Yankees, the Dodgers, and the Giants. And he had a stack of Giants programs, 1950, 1952, and so he opened them up for me and let me look at them. And they included this one. And this one in particular caught my attention for a couple of reasons. So, I don't know if you can see it. 1957 Giants. And on the top there, you can see it says Giants, Mays, Pirates, Clemente. And 1957, for all of you subscribers, I'm sure know, is the last year
that the Giants ever played in New York City.
That's right. So the Giants were ripped away from the fans, brought to San Francisco for 1958. So 1957 was their last year. And so when it said on the front cover that this was a Giants, Mays, Pirates, Clemente program, I said, okay, let me see if the inside says. Let's see if the scorecard is filled out. And indeed it was. And it was filled out in this beautiful red ink here by somebody who diligently took scores through at least the 7th inning. This looks like they stopped in the 8th. Why did they stop in the 8th? Well, because Roberto Clemente and the Pirates were destroying the Giants. And so I thought this was super cool. I loved it, and I knew that this was something I would love for my collection. And so I bought it. It had $25 on the sticker. I offered the gentleman $20, and he said, absolutely, let's do it. It's a deal. And so I knew when I got home, I could look up and see what the game was that this came from. And so I started. There's a great website, Baseball Almanac, where you can look up every single box score of every game. And so I did that. And I looked through all the Pirates games. So all the Pirates games that were in New York, every box score, I started going through them one by one, trying to match them up with the scorecard. And none of them matched until I got to the very last game. And the very last game of the season was a Bob Friend 9-1 Pirates victory. Clemente had a bunch of hits and drove in a bunch of runs. Dick Groat did too. But that meant that this scorecard, this program, was in the hands and in the stadium for the very last game of the year. The very last game that the New York Giants, who had started in the Polo Grounds in the 1880s, this was the final memento. And if you don't know, there's a great SABR article about this game that I'm going to read from here a little bit. So on August 19th, 1957, the Giants owners announced that they were moving. So fans knew that this game was the last game of the season and the last game they would ever get to see their Giants. And 11,606 of them came to the Polo Grounds to grieve and bid their team farewell for a sad goodbye. The game started at 2 p.m. Like I said, the Pirates went out in front quickly. Bob Skinner, in fact, in the first inning, tried to turn a triple play into a inside the park home run, only to be cut down by Willie Mays.
Wait, triple play?
What did I say? A triple into a inside the park home run. In the bottom of the first, Don Mueller singled and moved to third. On Mays' single, Dusty Rhodes sent a fly ball to center field. Clemente caught it. Mueller tagged up and made it to home ahead of Clemente's throw, but Mays got nailed at second trying to advance, so it was 1-1. But the Pirates basically turned it on and destroyed the Giants for the rest of the game. In the ninth inning, Mays' final at-bat, fans gave him a standing ovation, realizing this was his last at-bat as a New York Giant. He grounded weakly to the pitcher friend, but the fans continued their applause through the at-bat. And Mays said later, with the crowd cheering me and everything, it was the only time in my career I could feel the bat shaking in my hand. The New York Times called this game an elegant thrashing, an inelegant thrashing, but inelegance understates what happened immediately after the game. As soon as the final out was made, the fans rushed into the field. And I think it might be interesting. I'm going to play for you a little bit of this YouTube video of what it was like.
Over Cleveland. Just 3 years later, the Giants stunned New York by their move to San Francisco. Mrs. John McGraw came to say a last goodbye. The Giants ran out on that historic diamond for the last time. It was more like a funeral than a ball game. Pittsburgh won the dull contest 9-1. There wasn't a spark of excitement until the last out. Then bedlam broke loose. The fans poured out of the stands as if at a prearranged signal. The Giants fled as if pursued by demons. Fans fought over the bases. They scooped up bits of that hallowed ground. And long after the game ended, they stood massed in front of the clubhouse, pleading for another miracle at Coogan's Bluff. But the Giants would never again play in the Polo Ground.
And there you have it, son of Mookie. What do you think? Pretty bummer, huh?
Yeah.
Now, as we all know, this wasn't the last game that would ever happen in the Polo Grounds. Our beloved Mets would come there in 1962.
Unfortunately.
And but this program and scorecard was filled out probably by one of these people on this field, one of the 11,000 people who stormed that field at Coogan's Bluff, and who filled out the scorecard in that blood red ink. And these are the people who had their team stripped away from them by the New York Giants team ownership. So that's it. I'm so thrilled to have this artifact. This is an artifact of history that is amazing. In fact, I looked it up, and the last one of these programs from the last game sold for something like $400, which this one cost me $20. Now, I will never sell this. This is going in the museum here at Mookie Chilson World Headquarters, but it is just an incredible pickup. I'm super thrilled to own it. I know Son of Mookie loved that story. He's giving me a thumbs up in silence. And so I think that's it. So end of video, end of my sappiness, and that's it. Thank you.